Ready?
Yep, ready. In an instant, and we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the show I hope many more people watch. And I was going to do a very different show. I came across on YouTube, something happened in my feed about a professional gambler. And I wanted to have a show just about that and talk to you guys. And I am going to be, after I say hello really quickly, I'm going to get right into it because I think this is very important. And we'll go over there. But anyway, so hello everybody and welcome back to David's kind of like a rant, I guess. Not so much a rant. This is going to be about education, hopefully. And I really do hope many of you who come across this or anybody come across this knows that can you be a professional gambler? The short answer is no. And I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to tell you why I'm here to tell you that and how I know that that's true. I know it's disappointing. There's a few out there that are going, shucks, that kind of ruins my plans. But bear with me. There's a lot of ways to have a lot of fun and make a lot of money and create opportunity. There is that, and that's a thing. But I'm going to start with this. So first of all, I started in gaming in 1991. I was at the Golden Gate. I was a dealer, a craps dealer primarily. I started on a bird game. And I have been in the gaming business for most of my life, something like 33 years now. And in that course of time, I have developed relationships with many people. Oh my God, professional casino-based relationships. So over the course of that time, many people that I know have grown up and have taken over their GMs, their casino managers, their dealers themselves. Between me, Alex, and our network of people, we know so many people inside and outside the casino business. And by the virtue of our dealer school, you see this? CEG Dealer School on this side. We work with dozens and dozens of casinos on maybe not a daily basis, on a weekly basis. But we are in contact with more than 100 casinos easily throughout Las Vegas, in other markets. We talk to casinos, we talk to casino managers, we talk to dealers. We know what's going on. We know when the limits change. We know when new tech comes in. We know who's playing, how they're playing. We know how the market's evolving. I mean, we go to G2E. We are part of gaming on every level. Right now, at Casino Quest, Fontainebleau rented our space. They're doing auditions at our location, Casino Quest, the Las Vegas Strip. It's fantastic. Right now, at our school, we are helping station casinos get ahead of their training. I personally am training dealers to become crap dealers. It's the thing that I love the most. Okay, so I hope that you take that and you understand where we're going to go with this. And you give some credence to what I'm about to tell you when it comes to answering the question if you can be a professional gambler, because the people that are making these claims are some of the people that want your money and want you to pay them. It's a scam. It's a 100% scam, and I want to go through this. So I'm going to break it down into a couple different things. First, we're going to talk about the scammers themselves. Originally I wasn't going to talk about the one person, but I think that if I do, because I hate to give him more views, but I think that it's amazing that this. So I'm going to talk about the scammers first, and then I'm going to go into the actual games, and I'm going to talk about the areas of the casino that maybe you can become a professional gambler, or maybe not, and tell you why. And then I'm going to share at the very end. I'm going to share some stories with you about what I have witnessed myself here in Las Vegas over the course of my career. So the first thing I want to share with you is this. I don't do a lot of social media. I leave it to my team. I don't interact so much with YouTube and things like this. We have a busy schedule. I teach at the school. After that, we have stuff we do at the Casino Quest. So I can't say that I'm on top of all the influencers or the people that call themselves influencers. There's many of those. There's many people, and for the most part, I love that Vegas. I love that craps. I love that the table games get attention and the slot machines get attention, and anything that promotes Vegas in a good light as entertainment I love the videos that focus on, the small buy-ins, the big buy-ins, the wins, the losses, as long as they're honest, as long as they're organic, and as long as they take place in a setting that's productive and realistic, and yes, everybody's having fun and it's Vegas. Those are the things I love. I love everything that brings attention. I love the fact that there's more people now don't play the pass line. It's amazing. YouTube has helped educate people about lots of things, but it is also the playground of people who want to take your money and want to sell you things that are simply not true. And I know there are people out there who debunk some of these things, but they do it from afar. So they're able to look and see and how the money flows. But here I am here to tell you, I am not afar. When it comes to Vegas, I am literally dead center. By the benefit of the school, by the benefit of the relationships that I have and the people that I talk to. And I don't look like much sitting here, okay? I'm a teacher, I'm a dealer, right? But we talk to a lot of people. We talk to vice presidents of gaming, table game directors, casino managers, all the way down to the slot person, the rep, the people that we get jobs that go in as dealers. And we talk to them, we communicate, we're part of their life, we're part of their daily existence. So let me start with this. I came across, recently, I was, sometimes the roulette things pop out, and I know that there's a lot of people like, you got to clickbait a little bit, and we're probably guilty of that to some degree as well, because the algorithm and YouTube and yada yada. But in the end, you see the rule, you see how it works. We show you how we're very honest about our opinions, and we know how, the roulette works, the crap works, and we share that with you. But then there's this guy. So this guy came up, and by the way, I had no idea who he was. I never heard of him before. No one ever told me about this person. I had never run into him at a casino. I don't know anybody that's interacted with him specifically. But he came up in a thread, and strangely enough, he might have come in a thread because we have recently, how Google apparently picks up some conversations. I don't know how that is, but you throughout the day you have one conversation, and then you go home, and now all of your ads are literally based around that. It's a very strange thing. I don't know how that works out or who's listening, but let's just start with this. We had someone in our community recently was scammed by someone here in Vegas who told them that they could get them a bigger room, a craps table, and all these things. It turns out to be a lie. They took their money and they ran. And there's a lot of these slick willies out there who are offering people, whatever, access, cheaper things, whatever it is that you want. I'm sure that there's someone who will try to accommodate you. But if you're ever in that position, by the way, and you're about to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever the case is, I would love for you to send us an email. If you're ever in doubt or you think it's a scam, send us an email. I don't mind. We might not answer them all. We get a lot of emails, but send it to info@cegdealerschool.com, and one of our staff hopefully will chime in. Now, if it's silly, if it's ridiculous, but if you're legitimately concerned and you think that you're about to be scammed or you are being scammed, send us an email. If it's about a casino here in Vegas, I can ask. I can literally I can pick up the phone and I can ask if it's a thing. That's it. So I will offer that. Now, let's move on. So here we are, we're talking about how this person got scammed. And then all of a sudden in my YouTube feed, it comes up. This guy's name is George Mitchell. Are you ready? Let me just make sure that that's his name. Oh, no, my bad. Christopher Mitchell. And it's about how he's a professional gambler. Now, normally, if you say to me you're a professional gambler and I hook up your thing, you're most likely a poker dealer. Because there's absolutely some people who are poker players who are very good, and they make a living playing poker. It's a thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, as much as they say, like, you have Daniel Negreanu, who's a perfect example. I've met him once before. Very nice guy. Clearly, he makes a living. He has sponsors, right? He has games that he makes, but there are years where he loses a ton of money. Okay, a ton of money. And he's very good. He's a very unique individual. Phil Ivey, a unique individual. There are not many of these people who can say that year after year after year, they make a living at gambling. They get to a certain point where now they have sponsorships, they have relationships with the casinos, they have this online stuff, they write a book. There's lots of other areas that make them a professional gambler, okay? But they all run afoul of the bad year. And I have watched some of them myself, and I'm going to share some of those stories sort of at the end. and talk about that. But anyway, so I run across this guy's name is Christopher Mitchell. And of course, the first thing he does is say, am I a scammer? I'm not a scammer. He shows tons of money. And then he talks about how he can make, $1,000 a day. He's on track to make $1 million, whatever it is. Okay, he makes all these crazy claims. But here's the thing that was interesting. He started making very specific statements about how the casinos work with what he called the influencers. And so he was referring to people that are inside the casino. And if you wonder why he can't show you his action, it's because the only people that are allowed to show action are the people that are being paid by the casinos. They're given free money, or they're loaded up on the slot machines. They're not really playing slots. Bull. That's not a thing. Okay, so first of all, let's make this clear. As much as we know, and we have friends that run, literally friends and family that run casinos, not a single casino has paid us a dime. They've never loaded a credit in a machine for us, and they've never given us a single cent. That's not how it works, okay? You can say it works that way, but it's not how it works. And you can talk to every other influencer. I have never heard of a single person who has been paid by a casino to play. It puts them in lots of legal jeopardy, by the way. Now, what they do is they say, listen, if you're willing to play at a certain level, we're willing to let you film at our casino. It's simple as that. If you go to the Plaza and wonder why there's all those influencers there, or at the Plaza or at El Cortez or whatever the case is, it's because they say, listen, if you are willing to buy in and play at a certain level, we'll let you film it. That's it. It's not because they've gotten paid, because the influencer or the person filming it for YouTube is getting content. They're getting access. That's enough. The casino's not paying that. They're not going to put themselves in any kind of jeopardy. Now, those people may come with promotional chips, okay? They might be given, and because they're, by the very nature of them, donking them $1,000 over and over and over again, just like everyone else, they get promotional chips. But there's not a single influencer. Now, there is that slot guy who's out there. We've met him. We've run into him before. Same thing. He'll tell you the same thing. That's his money. Now, of course, they entered into a partnership with him, the Plaza specifically. They have some of his machines, I believe, and they put them in a certain area. And that's a whole different relationship. And you go there, and his face is on that machine. And yes, they obviously have the relationship. But this guy, Christopher Mitchell, very specifically talked about how the casino works and why he cannot show you all his big runs on Baccarat or Blackjack or Roulette, whatever the case is. Bullshit. It's not a thing. I promise you that that's not a thing. And when I realized that he was willing to lie about those things, he's lying about the rest of it. And then, of course, if you look him up, he's had quite the history. There's a lot of people who have lost their livelihoods. Some people who... His other claim is, listen, don't let your wife, your kids, or your money stop you from your success. It's nonsense. First of all, a lot of people have different values and definitions of success. It's not always about the money. And see, what these people do is they prey on this idea that if you lose the first 1,000, it's the next 1,000 that's going to do it, or the third 1,000 that's going to do it. And while he's talking to you, he's trying to talk down to you, make you feel silly, because he has the most obvious solution. You just haven't thought about it. He has figured it out. He has a secret sauce. And you, by definition of not being all that bright, apparently, because he has one video literally that says, you're too stupid to understand why I win so much money. It's absolute nonsense. It doesn't exist in the real world. I could go through all his stuff and break it down. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. You've seen. There's a lot of big players that choose to show you their action, whether they win or lose. Most casinos nowadays, they really don't care, especially if you're playing a big enough level. The only thing they really care about is if you're in a VIP room or if you're in a high limit area, they don't want the other VIPs to be, in focus. I mean, that's one of the things, a lot of casinos, they'll talk to us about that. They don't want us to film in high limit because those people are there playing a lot of money. They don't want to jeopardize those relationships, but it's private property. You can film yourself, and many people do. So him not filming the big wins is because the big wins don't exist. The next one is this. It's very simple. He makes this claim recently on an ETG he was playing that he would rather play American Roulette 00 because of the way the wheel is. Again, how stupid is he? Any of you that play roulette, less zeros is better. okay? No zeros would be great. 1 0, better. 2 zeros, worse. 3 zeros, even worse still from every vantage point, okay? By the way, I'm going to break this down. After the scammers, I'm going to talk about the tables. I'm going to talk about how and who and why you can make a living on any table. I'm going to break down once I get by this Christopher Mitchell. What's strange is that he's not alone. If you look at this, these people prey on the common denominator of people wanting to come to Vegas and somehow get ahead of the curve. And before, there's a secret sauce. Listen, they don't make $3 billion casinos that investment because someone has figured out how to beat a roulette game. It's not a thing. Roulette has some of the biggest wins for a casino, period. I know a lot of you, and I know this is sort of contrary to kind of what we do, and we talk about opportunity. There's a difference between you coming and gambling and making investment in an opportunity. We don't want you to bring your ATM card. We don't want you to risk your marriage or your kids or your trust funds. We don't want you. We want you to come with money you can spend. We want you to gamble and have fun. And while you're gambling, we want you to create opportunity. We talk about opportunity. We want you to give yourself the best chance to win. But we don't make any claims that there's some outcome that's definitive or that proven because it's not a thing. It's absolutely not a thing. And I have watched people literally ruin their lives. I have watched grown men and women completely donk it out, ruin their entire lives on the other side of a table game. All right, do I need to stop right there? I got Dennis here on the mat, and if you wonder why I'm so passionate about this is it just sucks. It sucks when you're on the other side of the game and you're watching someone and you're watching these things, and you can't do a whole lot about it. And I'm hoping that today, maybe I can do a little something. I can share some information, and you can see that, I'm not an influencer. I really not. I'm a guy that's been a dealer. I've worked in the casino business. I have many friends in the casino business. I've been here in Vegas. I happen to have access by virtue of a school. I put people in jobs as dealers. I put people in jobs as supervisors. I work with the casinos on a daily basis. I know who's playing. I have all this information that I'm willing to share with you. So that you know definitively that all of these people are absolute scams. Okay, all right, I'm gonna stop for a second and let Dennis, because I haven't been watching any of the, is there anything there?
No? There's a lot of questions, but there is one member chat from Alan Toy. It says,
Alan.
Hi, Daddy David. See you next year.
Yes. Yeah, and poor Alan will tell you there's no secret sauce, Alan. Alan had a tough trip, but I think he had fun. And he was able to create some new casino relationship. We had some good food, had some good times, and that's really what it's all about. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I'm gonna go down the games. I'm gonna list the games because I feel like that's where we get, because then everybody, I'm gonna counter all of it because someone says, listen, how you can make $1 million at Blackjack or what roulette or whatever. So I'm gonna go down the games. So number one is Blackjack. If you are at a smaller casino and you are let's say a passive card counter, okay, and I won't go into the card counting stuff, but there's ways to be sort of sly about the card counting, up your bets, play two hands, and get ahead of the curve, so to speak. If you're at a small casino, you can take a little bit of money. The minute you try to go to a big casino and really try to make a living or create this $1 million opportunity, you are not going to take a lot of money. They're going to either push you back from the game, or you end up at a table with a continuous shuffler, or an 8-deck shoe, or some other thing that takes away whatever advantage you think you have. It's not a thing. There's no one coming to Vegas to think that they're going to count cards. In fact, recently there was a YouTuber who came to Vegas and planted a video device. Some of you may have seen this, and they were all arrested. It's, you know what I mean? So there went that. So if you think you can get ahead of that curve, the casino has lots of things in place to counter someone either cheating or trying to get ahead of the game. It's private property. They're in business to win. Now, they don't have to win all the time, okay? Casinos have to lose money. They have to pay jackpots. They have to have winners on blackjack tables, winners on dice games. It happens all the time, and there's lots of big winners, people that play lots of money and win really big. In fact, if you were back in the day that carry Packers and stuff like this, all this big money, and it was great for Vegas. It's good advertising. It's people knowing there's those kinds of wins are out there, gets people excited, and that's a thing. It's not rigged because there's nothing that they would need to rig. They don't have to rig it. It's already rigged. I mean, and it's the long game. The casino plays the long game, so they're very happy with the short wins. That slot machine that paid $1 million collected $1.1 million to begin with, right? Or is due to collect that. I mean, so there's that. All right. So blackjack. So if you notice, back in the day, some years ago, bigger hands were allowed here in Vegas on a regular basis. So Vegas was more about gambling. I would say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It was more about the actually taking risks. These casinos took real risks with real bets. Now, less of that. They don't have to take the risks. When you walk in, you might pay $1,000 to eat dinner. You see? They don't have to take the risk. So here's what happens. The hands, they don't longer take these hands. They might have a few customers that they allow what they call contract play. That could play at a higher limit, but they can't martingale or chase their bet. That's another thing that all the scammers, the big system that scammers like to promote is the martingale. Well, there's table minimums and the table maximums for a reason. And then when the guy says that he's allowed to bet at a higher amount, bullshit. It's not a thing. So the minute that the casino knows that your system is martingale, you laying all this money on the table, and then you're going to martingale, that's exactly why limits are in place. You're the reason why those limits exist. That contract play, that $1,000 bet that they let this other guy play is because he started there. He's playing there on a regular level. They're not worried about him. The long game, they own that guy. When I used to deal dice, or I used to have high limit people, there was guys that could bet $20,000 a hand, $25,000 a hand, because that's what they bet. They'd be in $300,000, $400,000. If they won $1 million, no one cared. They were playing all through the night. So at that level, no one cares. They would never let that same person start at $5 and martingale their way to $20,000 because they would never win. And by the way, that same person would never start at $5 because $5 means nothing to them. Chasing a $5 win every hour, what is it? Bill Gates makes like $1 million something per hour. Those types of people, they don't need that kind of money. So for anybody to sort of flip this logic and try to make you believe that there's some other thing at work, it's absolute nonsense. There's a famous story about a craps player here in town that was allowed to bet at a very high level. That's very unusual because if you can imagine, if you were able to bet $10,000 place bets right out the gate and you have an hour-long hand, that table's losing millions and millions of dollars just with the same bet, just if that guy's getting paid every number. You follow? The reason why they let someone play at that level is because he doesn't walk with a lot of money often. He's in $3 million and most of the time, he doesn't win. But guess what? One time he wins $2 million, $3 million, and that makes him happy. But again, the casino is invested for the long game, okay? The casino's invested. So anyone tells you that that's different, it's not a thing. Anyway, okay. So let's move on and let's go to Baccarat. All right, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that talk about all the money. They keep coming to Vegas and they can't lose at Baccarat. Listen here. I love all you Baccarat players. And I see you all, and you guys, it's amazing because a lot of people will come up to me assuming that I don't deal Baccarat. I don't play Baccarat. I watch Baccarat. By virtue of having a dealer school and knowing Baccarat dealers and knowing famous Baccarat players, I hear a lot about Baccarat. It's a 50-50. The game is split. Pick one side, pay a vig. That's all it is. It's a rake. The secret sauce doesn't exist. Yes, you could play streaks and not streaks, but it's all random. It's all set up to be random. All right. The cards come through once. I don't know what to tell you. I don't understand. What's funny is people will take me aside for a half an hour and tell me their system on Baccarat. Listen, my system on Baccarat is flipping a quarter. I know a lot of you are going to be like, holy crap. And it's a thing, and I'm sorry to deflate you, at least from my point of view. Listen, if you want to believe what you want to believe, is not a lot I can do, right? But there are certain games at the casino that there's not a lot to them. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know what at least with 21, I got a strategy, right? I got the way the cards come out of Baccarat. I can't do anything. I can't hit. I can't stay. The rules are in place. Same thing with Pai poker. I got the hand I'm dealt, basically. You know what I mean? That's the hand I have to work with. So I'm either going to win or lose based on where I put my bet. That's it. And the rest of it is streaks, not streaks, martingale, not martingale, following there are people that will literally do the card and the runs. Yeah, if you win 6 in a row, congratulations. You lose 6 in a row, congratulations. The same thing. So if you're saying that you're winning millions and you're putting up all these bets, well, God bless you, you know. But we don't know about these big bets anymore. We know, what I do know is that in many places, the limits have gone down for Baccarat rooms, right? They don't allow certain types of bets. Now, there are some bigger casinos, again, that have contract players that are allowed to play at a higher level, but not to martingale there. They can't martingale to that level, you see? Because that's why the limits exist. And if there was someone right now on a regular if there was a room here in Vegas on a regular basis that allowed 100,000, where the casino had invested 100,000, I don't know where it is. I really don't. I really don't know where it is. I guess there might be a few contract players at that limit, but for the most part, if you walk around Vegas, go to the high limit pits, ask how much you could bet on Baccarat, and maybe 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, maybe even 50,000. I know that there are some exceptions to that rule based on who you are, but the $100,000 days, those are all gone. But anyways, all right, let's move on to craps, because I'm a crap dealer. Many years ago, 1992, I ran into a guy who told me he was a professional craps player. He started with an $8,500 bankroll, and he would start with $5 in the field and martingale straight up to the table limit. At that time, I think it was $3,000. For an entire year, the very first year I worked at the Gold Coast, every day he came in 5 days a week, maybe sometimes 4 or 5, whatever, and he would take $100 off that game. $100 off that game almost every day. And trust me, the dealers would be in the break room talking about maybe the one day, because he wasn't a friendly guy. He never tipped. He never really talked. I mean, he wasn't really, we all hated him, let's just be honest. And so, we would be like, one of these days, he's going to get whacked. And, he was real cocky and all this other thing. So one day, sure enough, David's on second base. This guy comes in, starts with his money in the field. No field. I think it was 8 no fields, maybe less. But he got to that table limit, and then he had to go 3,000, because he can't bet anymore. He's done. He lost too many in a row, and now he's stuck. I don't remember the whole series of it, but now he's stuck. And do you know the very last bet he had was 800, 700. He just put it off, and he was shaking. His hand was literally shaking as he extended. And for him, that was everything. He had built up this bankroll over all this time, and that was the thing he was telling himself. I'm going to go to the Gold Coast every day. I'm going to take my easy $100 and martingale this and walk away. And sure enough, a year later, it took a year. But that's the business of the casino. The casino can wait a year. The casino's got all their bills paid. They got no problem waiting a year for that guy to lose all his money in 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes, 1 minute. It took him an entire year. And in 10 minutes, it was all gone. And I'm pretty sure the way he was shaking, that it was a significant part of his daily life. The thing that he contributed to make him believe. Just wait, because I have a great sportsbook story. Because I know I'm going to get to the sportsbook part of it last. Because I know there's a lot of those out there, got all the sports stuff figured out. Okay, all right. Let's get to roulette. All right. Well, the roulette's a big game for the casino. I don't really know. You guys really need to look at it. I mean, if you look at it from the casino manager point of view, do you realize how quickly 000 roulette has made an impact at the casino? There are people, we have a casino manager that has literally told us there are people that ask them, where can I find 000? Because in their mind, there's just more places to put a bet. They have not figured out, they have not looked up our channel and learned a better way to play. So let me share with you an interesting story about roulette. And this involves us. And I'm sorry to say, because we let you know there's always a caveat. There are very good strategies for getting comps and things like this, but they can go south very quickly. We have these 3 couples that came out to Vegas not too long ago, and they might be out there talking. It might only be 2, but 3. I think it was 3. And of course, they got a hold of one of our comping strategies, right? Which, listen, some of our comping strategies is only a couple ways to lose. Essentially, you just break even, win a little bit of money, and then over time, you get this, you get a lot of comps. You qualify for a lot of comps, and it works brilliantly. I know one couple, by the way, who came out here about a year ago, $8,500 in comps they built up at their local Harrah's, and they used it out here, okay? Now, you're thinking to yourself, how does the casino let you get away with a system like 24 plus 8, where there's only a few ways to lose, and you're getting this, big comp value? Well, because you're going to come one day, and these three couples, there was only like 4 donks, I think maybe 5 donks on the one system they played. And guess what happened? They all came in $800 because that was a system. It called for $800, okay? So they thought they were going to play for $800 for a couple hours and have their entire trip comp. Because we're going to be professional gamblers, if only for a couple days. Guess what happened? The first couple spins, 0. 0 and 0, and all 3 of them out all their money right away. 2 spins in, and now guess what? They're over at Casino Quest because they can't afford to gamble the rest of the trip, because it's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. And that's a story about, some of these systems are not for us. You know what I mean? Some of the ways that we play are not for us. We should focus on what it is that's going to entertain us first and get us to, where, based on what we have, what our risk is, what our bankroll is, how much time we have, how much time we want at the casino. But us to expect some kind of specific outcome is silly. Is absolutely silly. Okay, have I got all the games on? Is there any games that I'm missing? I got roulette, craps, poker. Okay, I did touch on poker. I will say this: there are some really good poker players out there that we hear about that make really big money, but some of those poker players lose everything and go broke and have all sorts of gambling addiction problems themselves, and you don't see it. So you ready? Here's a story for you that I experienced firsthand. A famous poker player. You guys, if you're not in the poker world, you won't know him. I'm not going to call him out, but let's just say I knew him and his brother. And one of them won World Series of Poker some time ago, and the other one worked for me. I was the director of a youth sports organization, and he worked for me as a ref. And I come to find out that his brother was this famous poker player, and so I'm giving him, and there's no names. I won't admit to who it is. If you're really big in the poker world, you may or may not know. But anyways, so there comes a time when I have to write the referee, the younger brother, a check for his time. And amazingly, the bigger brother stops, the famous poker player stops by to pick up his check. And this is a youth soccer. This is a youth soccer thing. This isn't like, I don't know, some professional soccer team. It's a check for like $300. Like, why are you coming to our little office to pick up a check for $300? And because I guess it was some sort of house bill or some kind of thing. But anyway, so I was really curious. Why would this guy, who's this famous poker player, be picking up a check for a couple $100? And so I called a few people, and I found out that he was a very frequent slot player. He was this poker player, really good, but he was also a degenerate slot player who, last up, he had hit this big slot at the Cosmo of all places after spending who knows how much money. Can you imagine? You're this intelligent, just this fantastic poker player, and yet you're taking all your winnings and blowing it on a high limit slot machine at the Cosmo. It was an Oreo. Maybe it was Oreo Cosmo. Anyways. But needless to say, at the time he was investing in houses, and it was a bad time to invest in houses. That all went south. But if you hear about a lot of these poker players, dude, not every year is a boon. And you can look. In fact, Daniel Negreanu came out and he showed everybody. I don't know if it was a YouTube video or massacre. He literally showed, not every year is a big banner year. But you can imagine, someone like that. They have sponsors and other ways to make money. So don't think that if you're a poker player, that it's going to work out. In fact, you hear about a lot of these poker players, it doesn't work out well. And I will say, if you meet these guys in person and talk to them, they are very unique personalities. It takes a very unique person to manipulate the wind, so to speak, to sit there, ass in chair, and really get this reliable yield. It's a thing. If you come out to Vegas and you're here long enough, you run into many of them. And when you meet them, you know instantly they're different. They speak it very methodically very often, or they're very specific about it. I mean, just the way, the whole mannerisms, their presence is different. It's a very interesting thing. But anyways, that's a whole nother discussion. So I will tell you, unless you can have great math. I know there's a lot of people at home. You guys are winning tournaments. I won all these tournaments in a row on replay poker. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go sit my ass at a poker seat. Did not work out well for me. That online poker does not translate to the offline poker well. But if you're home and somehow you have it to think, you know what? I'm going to go to Vegas and be a poker player because I'm so good. You know, Uncle Marty over there and Martha, everybody says I'm the best poker player they've ever seen. You're going to come to Vegas. They're going to eat you for breakfast. You're going to show up. I mean, it's amazing. And by the way, for those of you that come to Vegas, you should always kind of get a heads up on where to go, where to play, because I'm telling you that the really good ones, the really manipulating ones that are trying to grind out their daily wage, they know where you're going to be. They know how you're going to play, and they hit up the poker rooms that people will be like, you know what? I'm going to be sneaky about it, and I'm going to go to this other poker room over here. They know you're going to go to the other poker room. They know how you're going to play. They know how to beat up the tourists all day long, and that's what they live for, and that's the other game. But anyways, all right. I see this scrolling along, huh? There's a lot of engagement, so that's great. I'm going to move on to the next part of this. Yes, I got something for me.
We do have one super chat. This is for Andrew M. Says, speaking of seeing you, I'll see you next Friday.
Okay, thank you.
I think he's coming to the school.
All right. Well, here. Is there any questions?
I mean, there's questions on who this is. But
really?
we're not. Yeah, we're not going to answer that question.
On who it is, the poker guy?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, first of all, they're really nice. These guys are really nice. I mean, they're very unfortunate, but they're a very good example of how things literally go south. Because the money dries up. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I've never heard of it work out well. You hear about the whales. You hear about people that come here and have millions of dollars. They play like they don't care, and they'll talk about the wins because they are going to win, because that's all they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about the wins, and they play at this level, and they can share that experience with you. And I know there's a few guys out there. There's one that I came across, and he was outed. And yes, he played a lot of money, and he won a lot of money one year, and he had a big fat number that he shows. But he's not a professional gambler, dude. That's not a thing. You know, maybe he's a professional poker player, but he's not a professional gambler. You know, maybe he's into other things, and maybe he has money, and he's able to play at a certain level, and he can show you a big fat wad of money. But if you believe that you need to pay anyone who tries to convince you that you are going to pay $5,000 to come out and you can sit next to this dude who has figured it out, the secret sauce, it's not a thing. It may work out for you. You may be that one person who, you know, all of his sports bet comes in. All the roulette spins come in. But it's not a thing. And it's really dangerous to believe it. It's really, really dangerous to believe it. This city is about entertainment. You have to come to Vegas. You can have a lot of fun here. You can gamble and you can win. You can absolutely win. There are people who win, and people, I don't want you to lose hope. I want you to have hope. I want you to come here just like when you go and buy the lottery ticket. I want you to believe. I want you to start thinking and spending that money, and if that's your thing, I want you to have that experience. But at the end of the day, if you're paying somebody and they're charging you, that's how they're making their money. They're making their money because they have you investing or playing an online casino where they're getting 30% and yada yada. You know what's funny? A lot of people thought that Alex, when he was playing the online casino, so there was a marketing thing, but if you watch Alex, he will tell you how rigged it is. He will tell you the experience that he had was not right. That's Alex. Alex is never going to say this is a casino where that's going to make you rich, because that's not a thing. So if you ever go back and look at those experiences, it's very different. It was an online casino. It was very separate, and he was always honest with that experience. And ultimately, it didn't go well because, maybe it was rigged. Who knows? All right, you ready? I'm gonna share two stories. I'm gonna share one story I got to experience firsthand, and some of you may have heard the story, but needless to say, I knew a guy who was easily one of the nicest people I've met as a professional gambler. Let's just say he loved craps, and so he was a real estate broker from Los Angeles, and he would start out at Caesar's Palace, and they would give him a big suite. He would play a lot of money, not a lot of money. He was a $50,000 to $100,000. Remember when that used to get you a nice suite here in Vegas? But anyways, $50,000 to $100,000 player, and he would go through that money, and then he would pivot and stay at the Gold Coast because I don't know who knew him. It was either Michael Gone, T-Shirt Joe. He would be there a lot with this other player we had. His name was T-Shirt Joe, and I would get to deal to them. They were on the $5 game, which back then was the high limit table at the Gold Coast. And if you wonder why he was there, again, he had some friends there. He'd started Caesar's Palace. So I got to deal with him over the course of a year. And I will tell you that he was absolutely addicted to gambling. I don't know if he ever thought of himself as a professional. I guess he does. I mean, he would talk about, that's all he wanted to do was gamble, like every day. But it wasn't, for him, it wasn't about the wins. That was a thing that he loved to do. He loved to play dice. His whole journey was somehow finding his way onto a dice game. And strangely enough, I would run into many of these guys especially early on. Nowadays, not so much, but back in the day, I used to deal to so many of these guys. When I started out, and you deal with the Golden Gate and the Gold Coast, Imperial Palace, and a lot of these, you would run into these people that they just wanted to play craps, and I don't know where it came from. Always, some of them were in World War II. This is the thing that they did this on the boats. They did this, at the docks. They did this. They had this experience, and for them, it was their release, and it was their freedom. It was the thing they were most passionate about. And this guy, he started as a real estate broker. A very accomplished real estate broker. He had a wife, 2 kids. He would always show up at the Gold Coast, the nicest dressed person in the room. Like, he would show up, and that was the guy who was wearing the nice suits, the Armani, all that stuff. You knew him instantly when he came into the casino. He would always play on the same side. He would come in. You knew who he was, and he was great because his play was easy. His manners, he never got upset. He didn't care about losing, and he had a lot of presence on the game. So over the course of a year, I deal with this guy, and I hear all the stories about epic wins and losses at Caesar's Palace, and his comps and everything else, and then of course we would have him for the next couple of days, and if he won, he would tip and this kind of thing. And I got to really talk now he didn't talk a lot, but he would share like the wins, and someone messed up a comp of his. He would have things on his mind. He would talk. He was always here by himself. And I got to learn, he was a real estate broker, had his wife. He never brought his wife because his wife wasn't a big fan of craps, yada, yada, and all this stuff. So anyways, a year goes by. I'm on the table, and the phone rings in the pit, and someone calls into the pit, and all of a sudden, this player is surrounded by security. Is literally surrounded by security. He's just playing. He's just surrounded by security. He's just in on the game. He's got some bets, and he doesn't miss a beat. He's just standing there, he's playing, and the next thing you know, we have our pit managers coming over and talking to them and explaining to him that he basically, the room that he got at Caesar's Palace was left unpaid. That for whatever reason, he wasn't able to either he didn't play the money he was supposed to play, or he had some other arrangement to pay for this suite, and they were afraid, the Gold Coast was afraid that whatever marker he had in action at that time was going to be unpaid. So they wanted him to resolve whatever the relationship was with Caesars before he got buried in credit or at the Gold Coast. And I'm sure there was other stuff involved, but I was only a dealer at the time. I wasn't sure, what was going on. I just knew that this great player, who kind of this legendary guy, who was one of the biggest players we had at the Gold Coast at the time, was surrounded by security, was escorted off the game, and then we didn't see him for a while. Fast forward, I don't know, a couple months. It was literally right before I left the Gold Coast to go to another casino. He comes in, and this time around, he's still wearing the same suit, but instead of buying in for a marker or wads of cash, he buys in for $60. He literally buys in for $60. He starts talking. He's still in the $5 game, believe it or not. He's not on the. We have what's called a bird game behind me, a 25-cent table. He still buys in for $60, and he tells me, he said, "David, I finally got my wish. I get to play craps every day." And I was like, "Really?" I said, "Did you move out here to Vegas?" He's like, "Yeah, I got my cab parked outside." He was a cab driver. He used to be a broker, a real estate broker in Los Angeles. He got divorced, separated from his wife, or got divorced, moved to Vegas, and became a cab driver so he could get his $60 in tips every night and stop at the Gold Coast and just play. So whenever he didn't have a fare, he literally, dream come true, dude. Dream come true. This guy kind of, you would think, on one hand, you think, he gave it all up for what many of us would think, you can only imagine was this very glorious life. The suites at Caesars, the gambling, the homes, the wealth, just to be at the end of a dice table. And by the way, at the Gold Coast, the Gold Coast. I mean, this was when the Gold Coast was fairly newer and cleaner. I still love the Gold Coast, by the way. We love ping pong over there, stuff like this. So no takeaway that they have as a thing. But it's a Gold Coast. It's not Caesar's Palace, right? But for him, that was the joy. And I think the whole journey, he knew what he was getting into. He was setting himself up for this, right? But if you think that would have gone any other way, it wasn't going to go any other way. That was the path. There was no part of him catching a role or creating opportunity that was going to change that. And he considered himself a professional gambler. And in the end, in a way, he was a professional gambler, right? He just had a taxi cab to feed the professional gambling. But that's about all right. All right, ready? I'm going to move on to my next story. My next story, go ahead.
Before you do, we do have a couple super chats. We have Tucker gave us $10. Says, David, you are super interesting to listen to. Love all your stories.
Thank you.
Christopher Bird Trucking gave us $5. Says, 45 years of craps and I'm still even.
See, that's truth right there. That is truth. But see, I think I'm actually ahead, strangely enough, because I had that one roll, and since then I've won. So there is that. But that's the truth. So that's realistic. Okay, you ready? I got a great sports story, and I'm sorry, my buddy Mike. I'm gonna throw you right under the bus here, buddy. I ran into a friend of mine some years ago. I met someone years ago. His name is Mike. He's a good friend of mine. He's still to this very day. I have nothing but respect for him. I'm going to share his story a little bit because I don't think he minds. His world has evolved. Okay, Mike is arguably the best horse handicapper I've ever met. All of you guys out there that love the horses, this is the man. He knows every track, the conditions, the trainers, the horse. He grew up around tracks. Like you have no idea. He can look at a horse's rump side and know how that horse is going. He can tell you the weights. He can tell you the ages. I have learned so much from this man about horses. Very famously, back in the day, I'm in the Hotel Continental. I got $20. There's 3 of us, and we're trying to eat at the Hotel Continental buffet. Yes, I know. As shitty as that buffet was, it still cost $10 a person. And even though we had a 2-for-1 coupon, we couldn't get through with the taxes on the third person. So we're missing about 5 or I don't know, some kind of money in the tip and the whole thing. All right. So here we are at the Hotel Continental Sportsbook. It's the beginning of the day, early afternoon, and I was standing there next to Mike, and Mike is like telling me, listen, you see that track there? That track is a wet track, and the horses don't like their tails touching the wet track. And I'm like, really? We're just watching. Mike doesn't have any money at this point, and we're just watching the thing. And I'm like, you're kidding me. That's a thing? He's like, yeah, if you bet on that horse, this one horse, they tied their tail up, and that horse is not favored to win. The odds are long, but the fact that that horse is tied, they tied the tail, and the track is wet, that's going to be the horse, and I know the trainer, and yada, yada. So we bet on the horse. It wins, dude. It wins. The horse wins, and we're off to the buffet. Now, Mike is a professional horse handicapper, also a sports bettor. This is a man who, like many of you that like sports, got to be in action every day. You got to be in action. I know how you feel because I've met many of you over time. I've had many a dealer that I've worked with, and they got to get their ticket in before work, and while they're sitting there on the crap table, that's all they can talk about is who's playing and who's doing this, and yada. And there's many of you. You got to have a game in action, and I get it. Some of you like the parlays and the dreams or whatever. Okay, so Mike, for almost 10 years, lived off of his sports bet. He was great. He got it right down to the science. He ran up. He had about a 60% win rate. He could tell you why and how and the kinds of bets that he made. And he always bet. He never bet with his heart. He never bet on teams he liked. He bet on the teams that had the right points. And he knew the casinos to go with the right point spread, the right line. I mean, he knew it down to a science. It's funny because if you see these sportsbook people that tell you of the millions, you know what I mean, that they're making on sports and yada, yada, because they're also losing millions, okay? But the millions that they win, their explanation for how they bet on sports is so simple. It's like, this one's going to win because, they got a bigger bulge to work with. I don't know. So when Mike talks about sports, he'll explain to you, he'll take all the emotion out, explain like where they're playing. He's even talking, and some of this will translate to some of you because it doesn't translate to me. Even the fans can make a difference. Even the fans can if you're going someplace where the fans are loud, he'll talk about the fans and the coach. And he'll talk about the players and who's on the roster. I mean, it just goes on and on. And again, never the emotion. It's always the points. And he'll tell you that if you got in at this casino, you got in too late. Or if you got in this casino, you got in too early. You had to wait for the money to move and this type of thing. He has this whole other conversation that I never hear any of these $1 million sports bettors talk about. And there's years where he did really well. You know he did really well because he was driving around in a car those years. When he didn't do well, he wasn't driving around in a car. He was walking to the casinos, but he still managed to pay his bills. For 10 years, I can vouch for the fact that this man made his living 100%. Now, sometimes, again, not a great living, and sometimes it was always boom or bust with him. But he managed to get by. Sometimes he had to borrow a little money, and he came out the next month, but he always managed to get by. Right up until he had one really bad year, and he buried himself in debt. I mean, his credit went south, everything. One really bad year, and I don't even think it was a really bad year. It was he can tell you there was this epic moment where, even, it didn't matter where you put the line and everything. It was just nonstop upset, just crazy upsets throughout this whole period of, I don't know, a couple months, whatever the hell he was betting, and he just couldn't make his money back. And in many cases, when the sports went bad, he would switch to pivot to the horses. But for him, if you're betting horses, it requires a lot of work, a lot of research. You have to keep up on these horses. I mean, it really is. The guys that really call themselves horse handicappers is this whole other level of engagement. You got to literally sit your ass in there. You got to get those. You got to figure out where all these horses are and who's trading what, and you know what I mean. Again, over my pay grade, so to speak. But he, in my mind, he was legendary. And you guess how many people he sold his experience? Zero people. There are no people he had pay. He probably could have. He could have run a line and asked people to pay a subscription but why would he? This was his investment. This was his secret sauce. Who the hell is giving away their secret sauce? And by the way, who the hell is telling people about it? If it's so successful, you shut the hell up, buy a nice house, get a nice whatever, and just enjoy your life. I mean, how many people out there, quite honestly, if you came into, now some of you, there's no doubt, you win that lottery, you're going to let everybody know you won the lottery. And by the way, that's not going to go well for you. If you see the stories of the people that shared their experiences, I mean, people come and knocking. You know what's amazing? 6 years ago, I was a dealer. It's now 7 years ago. Me and Alex, both dealers. No one gave a shit who we were or who we were. Now, hello, how are you? Here's my email. Let's connect. You know what I mean? But if you win a ton of money, the best thing you can do is not let everybody know. You know what I mean? You might not even want your mother to know because, your mother's going to come calling. She's going to want to come over and you know what I mean? But anyway, so that's up to you. All right? But Mike, professional gambler, professional sports gambler, made a living, sold it to no one, had his own experience. He lost it. And then there was no more. There was no one else he could borrow from. There were no horses he could invest in. There was no way for him to come back, and it got sad for him, and it got depressing for him, and he retreated a little bit, and now he's doing great. By the way, fantastic. He's got a great job. He's got credit. He's got money, and guess what? He still gambles, but he gambles because he enjoys to gamble and he enjoys to be in action. His reality has changed, thankfully, because you get to a certain age. And you got to make some choices for yourself. Wild and Willy days, you had to kind of put in the rearview mirror. And now you got bills and retirement, and you don't want to push a cot onto the street kind of thing. So there is that. All right, I'm going to pause for a second because I think there's more. No? Is there anything more? Any questions? Because I'll go back. I'll answer whatever. Go.
Well, yeah, you got to stop saying that. But there's no super chats, but there is people kind of chatting in the chat about, sports gambling, that type of stuff.
Can I just say, Thomas Crown, boy, love that guy. Did you see that comment? Did you see what's going on here? It blows my mind that David is in his 50s. You know what I'm saying? Those are the kind of people I need as friends. You know what I'm saying?
That comment was like 20 minutes ago.
It was 20 minutes ago? Yikes. Yeah. Martingale, here's another one. Martingale is not a pro strategy. Whoever thought, like this guy, by the way, this Christopher Mitchell, he calls it Mitchell-gale. Instead of Martingale, get this, you triple Martingale. You know what I mean? That's just triple Martingale. How to get broke quicker. And can I just say, I'm going to add this too. Did you hear, like, he claims that it doesn't matter how much money or your wife, don't let your kids, and don't let your bankroll get in the way of your success. Who ever heard of such a thing? What is this? How is people buying into this? I don't understand. But anyways, all right.
David, someone asked, ever seen a heart attack / croak at the table?
I have actually seen that. You know what's sad? And I don't know if they came up with this because there was a feed. This lady came out with this documentary saying that the casinos are run by sociopaths or psychopaths or something like this. And of course that one came up on my feed because I was researching all the scammers, stuff like this. And quite honestly, it is very interesting how the casino has evolved the experience. I will say it's not so psychological. There are parts of it now that are changing, because the way that we gamble and interact with the casino is also changing, right? When you show up at a casino nowadays, you might not even be there to gamble. You might be there to be entertained, get some steak, visit an attraction. There's many other reasons. And so the casinos are not made in this very linear, mazy, where they're trying to make you feel. I do agree with, but yes, I have seen someone had a heart attack on a crap table. And let's just say it was my first introduction to get a roll. We waited for a minute, and the security came, and the medics came. They couldn't move the guy right away, and then all of a sudden I hear the boxman say, "All right, it's over. Let's get a roll." You know what I mean? And so we had to get a roll, and that poor guy, it did not work out well for him, and I felt really bad. It was a very unfortunate thing. I mean, strangely enough, there were people literally in a position right next to this guy, who, after looking down and seeing that this man fell over, just looked back and focused on their bets. I've also seen a man on the slot machine, so I'm in a slot machine. This is when Harrah's opened in Laughlin, or Harrah's was redone in Laughlin, and so we stop in there. We're at the slot machine, and this man, they sit down, this very old man on a slot machine. And I'm assuming his granddaughter or I'm assuming granddaughter, put in some money into the feeder when the feeders were relatively new, and within a couple minutes, dude, he hit it. And of course, I'm sitting next to him, and I have another friend sitting next to me, and his machine is going off. He's still hitting the machine, and at some point, he has a little bit of a stroke. I don't know whether it was because of the lights were strobing or the noise, but like the machine's making noise. It hits for, I think $10K, I think $10,000. And I was sitting there, and my friend's sitting next to me, and my friend's like, "Listen, can we move him over a little bit?" Really, no. I was terrible. I mean, I was sitting there, I'm like, dude, you can't do that. Because they have cameras, by the way, so you can't just move someone out the way because they're having, and by the way, he was, in some kind of episode, like that wasn't going to be a thing. And I'm like telling my friend, shut the hell up. Let's figure out what this poor guy needs. And he had no idea he won. I don't know how much presence he had in the game, but eventually someone came and they got it resolved. But I have seen some very unfortunate events at a casino before. And I will say, it's remarkably strange how little empathy people could have in situations, especially when there's money at stake and there's things going on. It's a sad state of our character, I think, in so many ways. Yeah, it's not even funny, believe it or not. But I do. But anyways, all right. What do you got?
Someone said, MW said, love watching the craps videos.
Yes.
With Dennis and David.
Yeah.
What is David's favorite craps strategy?
My favorite craps strategy, without any doubt, is most likely. I love squeeze play at most levels. At 110 and 550, those are two best ways to play. And I love Lagerman too. I love starting with the 4 and 10, but I like to. I guess here there are three strategies I enjoy. You want to be a professional craps non-gambler? Here's the thing: how to create most opportunity in 2 seconds. Play the 6 and 8. If the table limit is too high for you and you can only afford a few bets, start with the 6 and 8. Reinvest in the 6 and 8. then regress. So we have a few strategies that you can see those. So if you have a $30 each 6 and 8, let's say a $25 table, $30 each 6 and 8, either one of them hits, throw in $1, press them both, right? If you throw in $1, you can press them both $18. Now, when it hits, you're going to get 56, and now you take it back down to 30, and guess what? You're out. You're out of the hand. You got your money back. You work at the casino's money. You just need 2 of those numbers, and there's that. The next one is what we call squeeze play. You start with, let's say you're on a $15 game. You start with the 110. You add the 4 and 10, and then the very next hit, you take everything down to 96 across, and you're out with a small investment. So you limit your exposure to the game. There's another one that we call loggerman. But basically, my premise is this. Always try to get out of the hand as quickly as possible, and then create opportunity as fast as possible. There's only one strategy for blackjack. You take a $25, you buy in for, let's say, $500 or $100. You start with 10. If you buy in for $500 and you just do a quarter and you go for 6 wins in a row, a streak of 6, okay? No martingale, just 1 quarter at a time. All you want is 6 wins in a row. If you do that, you will win $1,575. Work out the math. You'll see, $1,575. Meanwhile, you've only risked a quarter. So the thing is many people that gamble, they don't realize that it's not gambling if you're just winning a quarter every hand. That's not gambling. That's just you grinding time, and that's great. And casinos will love having you. And the math says the flat bet. On a crap table, the math says the come bet. That's great if you're not interested in winning a lot of money. If you want to create opportunity and you want to win, you got to parlay. You got to parlay the bet and go for the short wins, because that's where you have the casino. Short hairs. They got you by the, is there such thing as long hairs? I guess on dentists there's long hairs. Some of us, our hairs, aren't quite so long, but you have them you have the short game. That's the only game you have, and you have to be willing to say, you know what, this is the money I have to risk. This is what I'm going to gamble, right? And just let it go. Because many people have this like risk threshold. If $25 is going to change your life, and that's why you came to Vegas, take those $25 wins. But if you're looking for $15.75 to pay some bills, or have a nice steak dinner, or have a nice story to share, 6 wins in a row on a blackjack table. That's it. You don't need to count cards, do anything. Go for a streak. How many of you have seen 6 hands in a row? Many, many, many. Many, many, many. Happens all the time. And if you get a stack of quarters, you got 20 ways to get there. 20 ways, 20 tries. You see what I'm saying? It's that simple. Okay. You ready? What else you got? Anything else?
Insert name here. Really wants to know where your rings come from.
Rings come from our store, shopcasinoquest.com. Yeah. And by the way, before you guys go, I want to share with you the best place to be at the casino, and that's a dealer. And we have an amazing relationship right now. If you are interested, this is not, by the way, this is not an ad. It's going to sound like an ad, but I'm going to talk about the relationship a little bit. I am personally training crap dealers. It's the thing that I most enjoy. It's the passion that I have in all the world. I could get paid zero. If I could do this for zero, if I could eat, have a roof, all the things that we need to survive, and teach dice, that would be the thing I do the most. So we have created this relationship primarily with Station Casinos, although we work with many casinos, but with Station Casinos, where we are training sort of the next level. And why do we work with Station Casinos? Because they have invested both their time, money, resources, and prioritized the employees, the casino employees, the casino dealers. It's a thing. If you're at our school right now and you're wondering, why are we working for Station? Why don't we do it with Caesars or Harrah's or anybody else? Or not, well, Caesars, Harrah's, same thing. But why do we do it? Because that's not the opportunity. The path as a dealer is you start somewhere, you get the support, you get the benefits, you have a nice, easy life, you get that, you have that money, that opportunity, and that path to more success. That's how you get to the Caesars and the MGMs and things like this. And me and Alex, for 5 years, we went out there and wanted to develop basically a free dealer school. So we have 2 options. We have a free dealer school, and we have a school that you got to pay for, that allows for some more flexibility. But ultimately, we want to train the next level of dealers, of casino dealers, and the opportunity for dealers is through the roof. AI is not coming for the dealer jobs. Yes, there's ETGs taking place on the floor, but ultimately, people love the experience. They love having a dealer facilitate the action, because that's what it's about. It's about having that personal experience, sharing that story, having fun in a group setting and all these things. And we're working with Station because they got a lot of really great people, and they have invested in this program and this relationship and this path. I can call them up and say, hey, we got a problem and we need to get it resolved. Or I could say, hey, we have a student who is looking for some other opportunity, and it's there. And they have made it just so easy for. And you know what? They're paying us nothing. I mean, they pay for the student and the classes, but it's the same thing that you would pay. You see what I'm saying? We're not. They didn't give us any incentive to create this relationship. And you know what's funny? They've all come knocking. All the casinos now, they all need dealers, and they want us to advance their people and to this area of the casino, whatever the case. It's not a thing. Me and Alex sit down and we quantify the relationships. And you know what the biggest thing we use to quantify? How much BS we got to go through to get to the end result. Because at the end of the day, it's about people finding jobs, people being on the right side of the table. And, for all of you Christopher Mitchells that want to come out and lose all your money, the casino is very happy to host you. Oh, you know what? You know what's very interesting? He had this one other claim, and by the way, they all do, on how he's like, you know what? They're always saying that I'm being kicked out of the casino. No, you're not, dude. No one's kicking you out of the casino. You're free money for the casino. Are you kidding me? Not only are you free money, but sadly enough, there are other people that are going to follow behind you and more free money. Because you're going to treat them techniques that ultimately take them down and lead to more profits. And instead of you having a realistic look, instead of you understanding how to play, how to engage the casino, it's amazing. Of course you're in a big fat suite, because you dumped all your money, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, the casino is very happy to have you come back over and over. And every single table game director I know, and I would love to get them on here. We should do that. I should go through this series and just follow up, and because they can talk to you directly about the money that's spent, how they figure out, who to give the big hands to, who gets the big fat rooms, and whether or not this guy is a thing. I saw him trolling around one of the station casinos because why? They're gonna love him, dude. They love him. That's free money. That's why he's there. All right, good. We love you guys. Thank you so much. I really hope you got some information. Again, if you're ever in a position where you feel like it's too good to be true, and hopefully we don't get millions of emails, because I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but our email is info@cegdealerschool.com. So that's Charlie Echo Golf Dealer School. That's one S. Email us. I can't 100% guarantee that every email, some emails, by the way, go right to spam and they get blacklisted or whatever the case is. Email us, ask us. We will try and respond. And if it's something outrageous or you've been the victim of something and it's a casino that we work with, maybe we can make a phone call. Maybe we can talk to some people and save you all the agony. Keep a hold of your well-earned money. Come here and have fun, create opportunity, have some hope, but ultimately come to Vegas to enjoy yourself and entertain yourself, okay? Don't pay some guy $5,000. It's not going to work out well. It's not a thing, okay? And there's that. Okay, I am going to go. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Say the line.
I'm off to Keno to unwind.
And bye, the truth is.
Bye.